Hello, my name is Richard Swatton and I've been an astrologer for over 35 years. Throughout the talks that I've given in this time, I've often referred to the zodiac of Western astrology anyway as the wheel of life. And this is for a very good reason, because what the zodiac actually represents is a journey from first part of the year all the way through. It's a journey of the sun around the earth, and divided into 12 sections, 4 seasons, and 3 sections for each season, making 12 signs in all. It's a journey of the seed as it is implanted in the soil from Aries, from spring. It's as if there's a germ of new life which wants to develop, a corn seed, for example. And then throughout the signs, what happens is this seed gradually develops in an orderly sequence. Right the way through, past Libra, it grows to its fullest ripe around to Virgo, and then from Libra through to Pisces, it starts to be cropped, and then it dies, and then it has a kind of journey through the underworld until a new birth is born through Pisces, and then into the early spring in Aries. Now, what astrologers say is that when the sun is in a particular sign, it imbues a person with a special type of character which has a contribution to make to this whole cycle. And the sun in particular is important because it represents the central figure, the operating principle around which all of the other planets revolve. We have access to all of the signs. Some of the other planets, other 9 planets, astrologers call them planets, can be in other signs, but it's the sun which makes the most sense. It's that which shines in us, and that astrologers say that we're supposed to, or somehow we embody the quality of the season into which we are born, and therefore are destined to express it in some way, some level of life. Maybe unconsciously, maybe not, maybe through our profession, through our body, through our activities, our attitudes. What we do in life and how we approach life, how we responded. All of these things can be represented by the signs. In other words, there are different levels of life operating in each sign. These levels have been largely looked at in the preceding decades by various astrologers, and they usually talk about the personality. They usually put the personality style, and those are interesting. We're going to have a little look at the behavioral qualities of the signs in a minute. The Wheel of Life videos that have been recorded for this occasion, however, are more to do with the structural life themes, the dynamic operating principles, and the kind of dynamic operating in the sign, which leads to certain forms of behavior, psychology, and things that are encountered in the life wave of any particular individual. So let's just have a look briefly at the 12 signs and their characterisms, how to spot various things within the signs. Aries starts the season off and is the penetrative spirit of life. He seeks to get things moving. And this quality, which starts everything off, has an impetuosity in it, a kind of aggressiveness and assertiveness. It's there hidden underneath the sign. Often it comes out in the behavior as a kind of Aries, if they're not settled in themselves, a kind of agitation and a kind of combative resistance against everything that's getting in their way. I'm going over the top, of course, to make a point. Sometimes you can even see this in the face. There's a kind of triangular shape reflecting the quality of the ram, or reflecting the ram's head. Aries represents the head. You can sometimes see in the eyebrows and sometimes in the hair this kind of quality of the horns. They emanate from the ridges of the 2 cerebral hemispheres. In Taurus, you can often see this kind of cramped, held-in style, as if it's forcing its way through life. Sometimes, because it represents the head and the shoulders, it supports things. It supports the spiritual principle of the head. And so therefore, this protection of it is a building up of a great deal of muscle and security Security is a very important principle of this sign, which they will find or look or try to locate in life. But physically, we can often see them with this head down, trying to move forward, and as if they're saying, nothing's going to stop me. And there's this, sometimes, unfortunately, this lead to a kind of cramped upper chest in which the breathing is shallow or somehow confined. In its natural quality, it is a kind of sign which has a natural affinity with beauty and nature and pleasure and things like that. Gemini, quite easy to spot, really. It has been noted that sometimes the eyes are a bit close together. There's kind of impish face and a wit or a tricky mannerism to them. The eyes are always dotting around the room looking for the thing of nearest interest, biting of the nails to cover up a kind of curiosity of spirit that springs within the sign, interested in almost everything. Sometimes they can say yes and no and maybe within one sentence, and you never really know where you are with them. There's this kind of, as I say, light, airy feel which has its fingers in lots and lots of pies. Maybe 2 mobiles, 2 addresses, 2 names, 2 of everything, perhaps multitude of everything, not really wanting to settle on any one thing. And there's Cancer. The classic image of Cancer is a shy, retiring type who is somehow wanting emotional connection to things, but a little bit afraid of rejection. So it can act a bit coy, act a bit shy. Sometimes there's this kind of bountiful laugh that comes out because it's ruled by the moon. The 2 physical shapes of Cancer are the kind of round, full moon shape where you get the cheeks, a kind of ruddy cheeks and the fullness of life and wanting to enjoy it. Perhaps the image of a rotund cook comes to mind. And then you get the inverted moon, the closed moon in its last part of the cycle, in which the cheeks kind of go inwards and there's a kind of gaunt look, but there's still out in the eyes there's this kind of kindness, looking for its mother, looking for something to belong to. Belonging is a very important principle of this sign. Its adaptation to life is to create emotional rapport with those that he loves. Leo, the next sign, what can you say about him that he hasn't already said so magnificently about himself? This is the extroverted Leo, of course, with the big mane and the need to be recognized and understood as significant and important. The quality of the sign is that he is looking for his own self-importance and his own unique and special gifts. This can give rise to a kind of largesse and operatic overblownness to the personality that can crowd other people out if they're not careful. The bright light can be seen as sometimes the hair has a big kind of mane to it, and there's a big roar and a loudness to the spirit. Its creativity is well known, as well as its playfulness and its magnanimity. Virgo is the so-called fussy sign of the zodiac, but for good reason, which we should go into further into videos. But it's not just that. It's the sign of carefulness and cleverness, and it is trying to attempt to find things in life which will operate and make it functional well. It is the great utilitarian of the zodiac. You can often see Virgos making lists of things to do so that they have something to follow and something that they can function by. This kind of Virgo fussiness is if you give them a new meal, you can often see them trying to pick things apart on a plate and trying to work out what's in it before they take it in and digest. Taking in things and digesting them is what the function of Virgo, so they have to be careful about who comes into their life. Then there's Libra, which begins the descent, if you like. The spring has finished in autumn, and then comes this autumnal close down of this fresh new life and into winter. What we get in Libra is the offering of a person to himself in order to generate some idealistic balance with the world. We can see him trying to cooperate or somehow trying to evaluate his own personality or her own personality through what others think of them. There's a very strong tint in the sign of guilt or a fear of confrontation. This can lead to a sense of imbalance in themselves, even though the balance is what they're trying to achieve. There's often a great charm and a grace and a politeness. They're the go-between and the diplomatic soul. Sometimes they can lose themselves in doing this kind of behavior, and then later in midlife realize that they've given themselves too much away. Scorpio is that sign of, how do you recognize it? Well, often the dark of the eyes, there's a mysterious quality, perhaps a charisma in the personality. Sometimes this is a concealed sexuality, a passion behind the mask of the personality. But don't ask a Scorpio to immediately be upfront or open. There is a sense of wanting to control those forces of life which threaten it. And Scorpio know those forces of life which will threaten passion, emotion, people more important than them. There's often a kind of concealed or a contained emotional contraction, which it's a containment of their own power and therefore attractive, but ultimately will squeeze the life out of their emotions if they don't learn to loosen. Sagittarius. Well, we go upward to the spirit. It's the ever search for life, and you can see it represents actually the thighs, and so therefore it's the sign of the athlete, the adventurer, the climber, the person, the adventurous spirit, the forever seeker after freedom. He wants to run ahead and wants to make life big and important and significant. Often has his eye on the future and forward possibilities. Sagittarians often want to kind of escape from any kind of containment that is placed upon them. A fun sign, but also sometimes can be overindulgent and over-opinionated. Capricorn is the chief of the earth signs and represents the embodiment of the spirit in the cross of matter, and its defined significance and purpose while embodied on earth. Capricorns often have an air of paternalism or maternalism, the instructor, the paternal guide, a feeling, a kind of self-importance, but their weakness is that they always need or have a penchant somewhere in the background for societal approval. They don't like to admit it, of course, because there's a sense of humiliation when they're toppled off their perch or somebody has achieved more than them. But there is a strong sense of good pride in this sign which seeks to make something valuable out of the life that they've been given. Aquarius, the great air sign, the cosmological significance of everything, looking for a theory to understand things. It represents the channels in the system, the arterial and venal flow of the blood. It kind of has a sense here of wanting to understand everything and can rise to a kind of impersonality, unfortunately. When you speak to an Aquarian, they're always somehow categorizing things into scientific theories, philosophical theories, spiritual theories even. And so there can be an impersonality. But its great gift is that of objectivity. It needn't be so part of this emotional, physical world, because it can kind of distance itself and look at it objectively, which is why there's a truly scientific and reforming evolutionary current in this sign. And then it all falls into Pisces. Pisces, the sea from which we all sprang, the great mother, that kind of quality of life which always has something of everything within it. Pisces can surprise you. They are the eternal protean, a shapeshifter of the human condition. They embody everything, and they can, as I say, surprise you. Sometimes they're more Aryan and dynamic and vital, and then they're lost in their own world of imagination, not coming out. Facts to them are equivalent to mere tokens of life. They don't have to necessarily do what they say. Pisceans have this often ruffled look, a kind of as if seaweed hair all flowing, something like that. They like atmospheres, music, and qualities of the ethereal. You can always spot them, by the sea, lounging around, or the image that's coming to me right now is a kind of puma lying on a kind of a tree, just lounging around, enjoying the sun, realizing to itself that it doesn't, life's but a passing show, a spectacle, and sometimes you participate in it and sometimes you don't. So this sea of the Great Mother is where we came from, but it's also the sea to which we move into. Ultimately a kind of spiritual or mystical dimension to this sign. So those are some of the personality traits and some of the characterological qualities within the sign. In the forthcoming videos, however, we go into more depth about, as I say, those motivating principles operating in the signs in order to achieve a certain quality of depth other than this entertainment value. What we're looking for is self-knowledge. We're looking to help ourselves make a kind of self-inquiry in order to find what we are like as individuals inside. The aim of this, of course, is to have more choice, I suppose, choices over life, and not to automatically just follow blindly what we think we ought to do in life. It's a matter of becoming conscious of the individual qualities and the flow of energies in us so that we can make more informed choices, lead a healthier, better, more exciting and hopefully unique and individual life.